What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Yeah, you saw the channel name. We are no longer that old dead format. We are Steven in stereo because we like to talk about music. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving you my first thoughts after my first listen of Lorde's Melodrama. Now, this came out in 2017. I only ever heard one song from her. It was Royals. I'm not gonna lie, song was a little bit overplayed, and I remember liking it about the first time, and I think maybe the second time, and after that I was kind of over it. Then I heard that she won like Rock Album of the Year over Linkin Park a couple years ago, and I also thought that was weird because when you hear the song Royals, I would never imagine her doing rock music or anything along those lines. Fun thing about this channel, I'm extremely open-minded towards music, so I'm excited to listen to this for the first time and give you guys my thoughts. Before we get into today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, wherever the hell I put those things. I am very active over there. I try to respond to you guys and stuff, so make sure to follow me over there. I also have a Patreon account if you guys want to sign up over there. There's some cool membership benefits to help support the page. Also, when I do reaction style videos, things like music videos and live performances, they usually get chopped up for the YouTube channel so they don't get demonetized. However, I post the full ones over there on Patreon, so if you're interested in that, make sure to go check that out. It's going to be one of the links in the description. Last but not least, I do have my own personal YouTube channel where I do like movie commentary and just a lot of fun things, challenges, vlogs, that kind of stuff. That's going to be the first link in the description if you want to check that out. Okay, with all that out of the way, I'm excited to listen to this. It's been hyped up. Some of you guys have been sending me death threats about not doing this. I'm kidding about the death threats, but for real, y'all are pissed. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. I'm excited to check it out. This first song is called Green Light, so I'll let you know what I think. Okay, so right away, that was absolutely not what I was expecting her to sound like. When I listened to the song Royals again, I pretty much made a judgment on what her music was going to be, and that is where you go wrong sometimes, but you hear it on the radio and you immediately, okay, that's what she sounds like. And even though that song sounded like a very dark style pop sound, it definitely gave me the reasons to lay a foundation of what I thought her music sounded like. Now, I just hear this song, and I definitely could see why it was a contender in the rock album category in the first place, because she does have that sound. Like, what's different from this and like Paramore as far as the instrumentation? Like, it's very upbeat in moments, but it does have a rock element. I feel like this has more of a rock sound than a band like Imagine Dragons does. Now, there was a lot going on because at first there was a heavy rock sound entering this track, but then the pre-chorus started to have like this very fun, almost poppy sound, and then you get to the chorus and it's full out. But while we're having all this fun and happiness, the lyrics are actually sad, and I almost feel like this was more of a breakup song than anything. I especially felt that way in the chorus. She says, "'Cause honey, I'll come get my things, but I can't let go. Give me that green light, I want it." As saying, like, in my interpretation, oh, I need that green light that says it's okay for me to go and move forward and get on with my life instead of doing this. My favorite lyric out of this whole song, though, was definitely, "Those rumors have big teeth, I hope they bite you." I think overall for the intro track, it was really good for me because it shows me that there's going to be more to her sound than I definitely anticipated, and that's what I usually look forward to whenever I'm checking out an album for the first time, especially an artist that I already had an idea of what they sounded like, because this sounds nothing like Royals, and I like that because I didn't really like Royals. Okay, the next song is called Sober. Okay, so there was so much going on with that song. Very heavy on the 808s and synthesizers in this. There was this really cool vocal effect when the song starts, and I don't know what was so cool about it, but they used the same thing on the outro. I feel like this was one of those tracks with a chorus that was extremely anticlimactic, but in the best way. I felt like I was trying to predict what the chorus was going to be, and I just couldn't do it. And then when the instrumentation actually dropped for the chorus, it's usually a beat that I can't stand, almost this like jungle kind of sound, but it worked so well in this track, and I don't know why. I think it had a lot to do with Lorde's delivery and the vocals, and that's one thing too about her that I'm learning. It's very hard to pay attention to everything. She's got a lot of elements when it comes to the instruments, but more than that, she's also got like such great writing and a storytelling vibe that you really have to follow what's going on, because every line could stand for numerous things. One of my favorite moments in this song definitely had to be the second verse. She does this like around this liquor wet lime midnight lose my mind, and the way that she delivers that just sounds so cool, especially with the way her vocals are, because they're not like super high, and she's using this like sort of hip hop flow with it. Another line that I liked in this was Jack and Jill get fucked up and possessive when it's dark. For some reason, that line stuck out to me, especially the way that she said fucked up. It just, I don't know. When I hear fucked or anything like that in pop music, it always stands out to me. Then, of course, the bridge comes in, completely changes the entire sound of this song, and then starts this like vocal, like escalating of lyrics, and every line she's getting higher and higher. It feels like I was literally climbing upstairs of the story with her. Overall, what a cool track. Definitely a lot for Lorde. I do have the lyrics pulled up here because there's just so much going on. Anytime it's not just a singer and they have crazy instrumentation like she does, there's a lot to take in on the first listen. It makes it difficult, but like a fun challenge to do these kind of videos. Like I have to try to give you my thoughts on my first go around, my first initial reaction or listen to these tracks, and it can be difficult sometimes. The next song is called Homemade Dynamite. Okay, so I definitely just found my favorite track. There's a lot to talk about here, but we're gonna sum it up as best that we can. First off, song starts out with a beautiful synthesizer, and then out of nowhere, these drums come in to create the perfect beat for Lorde to literally rap on this track, like delivering so many words per line here. Chorus is in a falsetto, and it's just beautiful, and that's just saying the least. But my favorite part about this song is that it is dark and twisted in numerous ways, and the delivery of it, you would never think that. But she's literally talking about, you know, getting drunk, getting inspired. This is that homemade dynamite. Then there's a moment where she talks about, you know, we'll have your friend drive, he can barely see. And she literally paints a vivid picture of, and I'll say it, we'll end up painted on the road, red and chrome. All the broken glass sparkling, I guess we are partying. Literally talking about drunk driving and getting into a crash. And for some reason, those lyrics over this beat make it such a beautiful moment. And it probably shouldn't be because it's so dark, but I just love the sarcasm that exists in this song along with the overall darkness. I feel like I'm picking up some good stuff from Lorde right here. And those lyrics are definitely my favorite. I stan those lyrics. I like, you know, I've been hit by a drunk driver before, so I like a moment where she's gonna throw some shade, but I also like the way she did it. It's very, very dark and paints a really great picture of red and chrome and broken glass sparkling, because I guess we're partying. Okay, the next song is called the Louvre. I don't know how to say this. Okay, let's listen to it. Okay, so that song definitely had a much slower start to it, but I feel like during the verse we were getting this huge buildup for something. And then that buildup falls deep into the pre-chorus, and I think the pre-chorus was probably my favorite part of the song. It's a very long pre-chorus, but out of nowhere, Lorde just busts out with broadcast the boom, boom, boom. Now, I kinda felt like the actual chorus was missing something, especially when the verse and the pre-chorus sounded so great. She kept saying broadcast the boom, 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 and that was cool, but the instruments, you know, I feel like they should have boomed harder right there. I feel like that moment, she's saying broadcast the boom, 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 let's do something a little bit bigger, a little bit more epic, and I feel like we didn't really have that part in the chorus. However, this was definitely a love song. It was definitely a love track, talking about a relationship that she's in, something that she's excited about, something like, can you hear the violence? And my favorite lyric that I really enjoyed, that makes it like a great love song for me, was that I would blow all my friendships to sit in hell with you. Like, I feel like that's the type of card for Valentine's Day that I want to send to my significant other. I would blow all my friendships just to sit in hell with you. So that was about 3 minutes of the track. The rest of it was this really beautiful instrumental fade out with a little bit of ad-lib from Lorde in the back, and I think it sounded really great. Okay, next up we have the track called Liability, so let's get into it. I feel like that last track was so good with that instrumental fade out that I kind of hope maybe it fades into Liability. Probably doesn't though. Okay, so that's a sound that we haven't heard on this album just yet, and this is track number 5, so just about halfway through. This was a very soft piano track when it started, and I thought we were gonna get more. It was kind of like a ballad, but the way Lorde delivers her lyrics, even on a soft piano track, it's aggressive. And I wrote down, because I make notes as I'm listening to this, that Lorde has aggressively soft vocals, and that's the case. Even on a soft track, it's still very aggressive. I don't know if it's just the writing or just her overall delivery, but there's something still aggressive about it. Having said that, I really do enjoy the way that she delivers her vocals. I love hearing it, and I actually am sort of like enjoying the anticipation of what I'm gonna get next on each track right now. Quotable lyrics from this one: I'm a liability, get you wild, make you leave. I feel like, you know, some of us can relate to that. I put asterisks here. I really hope she writes her own stuff, because the lyrics honestly have been like my favorite part other than her voice. And it just makes me really hope that, like, I don't know, I picture her sitting by herself jotting this stuff on her notebook, so I really hope that's true. I get nervous with pop or like very popular artists sometimes, because a lot of times they have co-contributors and stuff, and I like to think that this is coming straight from her heart. I love the fade out on this. You're all gonna watch me disappear into the sun. I feel like there were moments on this track where several of those lyrics could have been used in my Instagram bio, because they were deep. It was just fun to hear her on a piano track just now and kill it like that. I love that track. It was fun. So far, other than the one chorus that I wasn't a huge fan of, and I don't even remember what song that was, it might have been the previous song, I'm enjoying this album a lot. I love when I think I know an artist and then I have to have my mind changed. Okay, the next song is called Hard Feelings and Loveless. This is the longest track on the album. Good. I'm excited. I don't want these abrupt endings. I want more. Wow, there's so much to that track. Oh man. So first off, the first half, I almost like you have to talk about it as two songs, even though it definitely is one song. Not just physically one song. I mean, you can tell that there was two parts to a one song. First off, there's a very atmospheric sound to this as it builds up in the first part of Hard Feelings. She says, let's give it a minute before we admit things are through. It's almost like she's like exploring the fact that the love is ending in this first part. I like when she says this is what they call hard feelings of love. She then describes love as, you know, sweet words, and fevers as like the sickness of love. It's crazy to hear her explanation and words and terminology she's using to explain, you know, the hard parts of love, because it really hits you right in the feels. Very memorable lyric to me: when you outgrow love, the whole world knows but you. Then we get to a part where you almost start to actually feel the vibe of this song change. You can almost hear the slash in the title. It starts to get very heavy. It's very chaotic instrumentation, and the song actually starts to feel more aggressive, because the first part was a little more atmospheric, a little more just kind of singing, a bit softer, more emotional, and then you could actually feel the emotions physically when you could hear this beat change. There's just one last little verse, almost as if it's a fade out, and then boom, we get into Loveless. And Loveless starts out right away with heavy drums, and it just sets the tone for this. Now she comes in and she says, bet you wanna rip my heart out, I bet you wanna skip my calls now, all fucking with our lover's head generation, where she continues to say the loveless generation. And it's amazing to hear her say it softly and then turn around and say this in Loveless. And when you hear the song together, if you haven't listened to it in a while, I highly suggest you just go back and listen to this again. There's just something so beautifully chaotic about the way she delivers this right here. This, again, really makes me hope that she's writing her own lyrics, because this song was a masterpiece right here. Like, there was so many cool elements to it, so many memorable lyrics, but this video is not about me just sitting here reading the lyrics to you. I just like to highlight lyrics that I thought were important or that stood out to me. Anything I could have used as an away message on AOL Instant Messenger, I definitely like to call out here, because this was really great. It's just crazy to hear somebody so young be able to explain love this way, and be able to explain love in such a graphic way, even with only minimal words used. She's a genius when it comes to writing. That's why, fingers crossed, she writes her own music. Okay, the next track is called Sober 2 and Melodrama, which is the title of the album. So let's see what she does here. Okay, so right away I can definitely tell that this is the part 2 of track 2, which was Sober. It almost felt like where Sober was talking about the moment of like getting drunk and being at a party, Sober 2 sort of picks that up as like the aftermath, maybe like the next day or something when the party's over and you're having to realize sort of what had happened or where you had been. I just gotta say that her vocals in this were so fucking good. Like, there's just something about the delivery here that was different from any of the other tracks that we had heard. She says all the glamour and the trauma and the fucking melodrama, and the way Lorde delivers it is so much better than I could ever even touch, so don't at me. But I just feel like she delivered that so beautifully that I actually replayed that part back like 7 times because it was just fun to hear. Out of nowhere, so we spent a lot of this track with this very, again, atmospheric sound. She's like creating a space here. But then out of nowhere, it drops an actual hip hop beat, like almost like a trap beat. And Lorde ad-libbing over this and finishing the lyrics with it, it was just such a moment on this album. All in all, this was a very beautiful moment. This is track number 7, and there's a lot to her, and first listen is very difficult to go around. It's not often that I can listen through an album and not really find much that I don't like, but there's something about Lorde's sound and the lyrics that she uses and the way she delivers them that all kind of make me want to hear more and more. Okay, so the next track is track number 8, and that is Rider in the Dark. So we're gonna check this out real quick, and let's talk about it. Okay, so I feel like this song, though we usually talk about instruments and stuff, it was definitely a piano track in the beginning, but this song was heavily focused on the story she was telling. So what I gathered, and hopefully I don't screw this up, bet you rue the day you kissed a rider in the dark. So I'm not sure if she's, at this moment, if she's talking about a relationship that she's currently in or one that she had been in during this process of becoming, a megastar. She says, I'll love you till my breathing stops. I'll love you till you call the cops. Talking about just like how much intensity that love is going to be. It's forever. It's everlasting. It'll be there until she's dead or gone. But then she says, find a way to be without you. I love it here since I stopped needing you. And I guess what I gather from the lyrics and the delivery, which by the way, there's a falsetto in the chorus that is so beautiful on this track. So definitely recommend you going and listening to it again. But what I gather here is that she's talking about a relationship that sounds like it was over by the time we were somewhere in this track. And despite the fact that it was over, she loves this person, but she's able to let go. At least that's what I can hear in this. And I like lyrics like this because I feel like it's relatable. We've all, I don't know about you guys, but I'm almost 30. So I've definitely been in a relationship that this makes a lot of sense. Like, you love somebody, eventually that relationship goes away. But if that love was deep enough, it's one of those things that really can't ever go away, and you kind of always feel for that person, but you're happier that they're not around, but you still love them as a person. Human emotion is a very interesting thing where even people that did us wrong, you still find some sort of love for them. But I feel like this really showcased Lorde's writing abilities. She's had some really great lyrics over the course here, but even with simple lyrics, the way she was able to tell this story for me to be able to pick it up on first listen, I feel like that's very important. And it kind of solidifies the fact that I think she writes all of her own lyrics, especially with the song called Rider in the Dark. Another thing that I pick up off the track Rider in the Dark could have a lot to do with the fact that the lyrics that she writes are actually very dark. Some of them are extremely dark, especially the vivid scene of a car crash that she wrote, which was just beautiful. I don't know if that means that. It could just be that Rider in the Dark, maybe they're not together anymore, so she's in the dark part of his life, but she's writing about it still. I don't know. Picked up on that. I really love this. Again, the falsetto in the chorus, highlight if we're talking about the elements of the track and not just the lyrics. It just sounded so beautiful and really showed Lorde's amazing vocal ranges. Like, this is definitely more than I bargained for, when I decided to listen to this. Okay, so the next track we're going to listen to is a song called Supercut. So I didn't actually expect to vibe so much with Lorde. When you base something on one song that you heard one time, and then you start to hear these tracks, like, and this is stuff that I never anticipated really connecting with. Sometimes with pop music or popular music, The writing style can be so generic, and oftentimes it's hard to fall into those lyrics as much. A lot of radio hits in particular are typically written for the radio. So, you hear Lorde's Royals, and while that was a cool song, it wasn't really my thing. Hearing Supercut and hearing like her take on things, it's just so cool. This song is essentially what all of us that have been in long relationships that weren't good have experienced. She's essentially talking about all these great things. She talks about, in my head, I do everything right. When you call, I'll forgive and not fight. And then she keeps saying, like, these are moments that I play myself in the dark. And I don't know if you've ever been in a really terrible relationship, but I did when I was young. And when things were rough and you felt like it was about to break up, there would be this highlight reel that played in your head that would, send me into like full-on panic mode. I'm watching the highlights of the relationship. I'm watching the times when, you call me and I don't get upset and we don't fight and I just say I'm sorry or whatever. You start to look at all these things and, you think back to, oh, that time we drove in the car together, it was so great, it was wonderful, and how could I ever live without this person? And then she hits the chorus where she says, it's just a supercut of us. And that's so true, and it's so amazing for her to be able to tap into that and write a song that is so easy to connect with on that level. The instrumentation of the song had a very 80s vibe to it, and I'm just so here for that revival. I heard that in Taylor Swift's 1989 album a lot. I heard it obviously in this album. I want to hear more of that because I love synthesizers. I'm a nerd for an 808 pad and some synthesizers, and we definitely had that in this track. One downside, the pre-chorus to the song was just so much better than the chorus, and I feel like that's happened a couple times on this album. I don't really understand that because the pre-chorus is supposed to build the hype and anticipation of the chorus, and when the chorus drops, you want it to be something memorable, and I feel like at least twice now that hasn't happened. But honestly, her content is living in the lyrics, especially the verses. There's one moment on this song where Lorde sings, and the way that they use the effect on her voice, it almost sounds like she's like calling in, or it's like walkied, and she's talking and she's saying these lyrics. But something about it, especially how the instruments kind of break down in that moment, it sounds very raw and emotional. And then when you hear it, it's like, oh, I've been there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how she's able to get all of those things put together. Obviously, she probably had a great producer on top of this, but it really makes you feel like you're singing this song, like it's part of you. It's definitely my breakup song that I would have been going to, especially like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. If this song would have been out, I don't even know if she was born. I think she was. I think she's young though, I think. But I just feel like this is definitely what I would have gone to remind myself that I'm just listening to a supercut of us. Those relationships that lasted like way too many years simply because you couldn't see the bad things or the flaws going on. It's hard. I mean, obviously you get out of it, you look back, you can see it, but damn, Lorde, good for you to be able to just kill that. Okay, this next song is called Liability Reprise. Now, we already heard Liability, so I'm not sure what to expect here. I got the lyrics pulled up. It looks... oh, maybe the lyrics are a little bit different. Okay, let's listen to it. So this definitely is a reprise, and I understand what that is now. The track, but the lyrics are a little bit more reimagined, and I feel like this version of the song is a little bit more emotional. What I gather reading through the lyrics is that it sounds like she's speaking to herself, almost like self-reflection or like third person, but you can feel the emotion when she says, I'm a liability right in the beginning, and you know that this track is gonna hit just a little bit different than the other one did. Maybe all this is the party, maybe we just do it violently. She spends a lot of time in this and in Liability talking about all the decisions she makes, all the things that she does that cause her to be a liability, and maybe she just does it violently. I really enjoy the ending of the track where she's just saying, you're not what you thought you were. And I definitely think that she's actually talking about herself there. So it's always cool to hear self-reflection. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's just kind of the vibe I picked up, especially talking about Liability as well. Okay, the last track, which I'm actually kind of sad. It was a 40-minute album, which is a pretty decent album these days, but I feel like there's just so much more of Lorde that I need to hear, and I kind of want more lyrics to connect to, you know? I mean, we all have sad days still. I wouldn't mind being able to jam this on days when I'm just not feeling it. Okay, the next track, final track, is called Perfect Places. Damn, I hate when an album ends on such a high note because I feel like it's track number 11. What am I supposed to do now? The song is over, the album is over, the story is done, at least from here until we have a new album from her. And that always bums me out because, again, I talk heavily about talking about an album and listening to an album from start to finish and listening to the story, and we definitely explored a lot of topics on this, but you get to number 11, I expect it to be just some fade out where I'm like, okay, I feel closed. But more than ever, I just feel like we ended on such a high note. Let's talk about the track really quick. So first off, extremely upbeat drums to start this song off, which I immediately knew I was gonna fall in love with. On top of that, Lorde's vocals and the cadence of delivery of the vocals in this track are just like, you're instantly hooked to it. I want to hear what you got to say. Kind of like this ongoing just another graceless night that she keeps chanting throughout the verses and the chorus. I like when she says, are you lost enough? Have another drink and get lost in us. She says, I'll blow my brains out to the radio. Like, Lorde knows how to write these lyrics. I feel like Lorde should write a punk album or like an emo album. Of course, I guess this could kind of be that. It's very emotional. I'm pretty sure though that when we get to the chorus, we're either talking about drugs or alcohol use here, because she says, because all the things we're taking because we're young and we're ashamed. And then she talks about heroes fading and all these, and let's go to perfect places. I think perfect places literally has to do with either being drunk or being high. But I will say that I was so stoked because the pre-chorus built up the best chorus on the album by far. I love the outro. I love the what the fuck are perfect places and just the overall way that this album ended. It's bitter because I love it because the track was definitely top 2, top 3. It might even be the best track on the album, but it's just so hard to be done with an album when I'm just now really getting started. So typically what I do is while I'm editing this video, I'm gonna listen to the album a few more times because it's really hard to pick up everything on first go around. And I'm the type of person who likes to connect to the music I'm listening to, even if it's something that I wouldn't usually be into. What I think is cool about this channel, what I think is cool about albums like this is that it's music that I would have not sought out on my own. I typically listen to probably way too much hip hop. I listen to a lot of punk rock, metal, things like that. And to be able to sit down with an album like this, take the lyrics, take the instrumentation, have it all in front of me and try to go around with it is hard. And that's what makes these videos interesting, is that you're getting my first impressions on albums or artists that I've definitely not listened to before. So I really liked this. Other than a couple duds in the chorus on 2 songs, everything about this album makes me want to go back to it. I wasn't expecting it. I thought that she was going to have this very monotone voice, judging based on the song Royals, and I was so wrong and I was further from the truth. I would love to hear Perfect Places on the radio or something. Like, I feel like more people would be listening to Lorde. I know she has a huge following, but more people would if some of these other tracks would have been considered the ones that were really going to showcase what Lorde was capable of doing. So this was perfect. I loved this. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, wherever I put that. Don't forget to check out my other channel, first link in the description, and my Patreon. It's also in the description. If you guys liked videos like this, make sure to leave me some more suggestions in the comment section, other albums you think I would like, other albums you think I would want to explore, albums you might even think I won't like and want to hear my opinion on that. I got no reason to lie about this stuff to you, and other artists you would like me to explore. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for hanging out with Steven in Stereo. I will see you in the next one. Peace.